Last time on Larrybug's Reading Hour, we were on chapter 11. Now we're on chapter 12. Nothing matters. As for the title of the book, nothing. Okay, I'm kidding. Can't do the whole thing like that. You can't. A bit British. Previously on Nothing, as read by Laurie. Fucking grave robbing! Call the cops! Call the Polywollies! Okay, just kidding. This is Nothing by Jan Teller. Written in Denmark. Which I definitely can't do the accent for that. We could review. This is the first chapter in its entirety. Nothing matters. I have known that for a long time. So nothing is worth doing. I just realized that. Nothing matters. From the moment you are born, you begin to die. The Earth is 4.6 billion years old. You'll live to be a maximum of 100. Life isn't really worth the bother. So says Pierre Anton. When he decides that there is no meaning to life, leaves the classroom, climbs a plum tree, and stays there. His friends and classmates cannot get him down. Cannot get him to come down, not even by pelting him with rocks. So, to prove to him that there is a meaning to life, they set out to build a heap of meaning in an abandoned sawmill. Yes, a physical pile referred to hereafter as the heap, the pile of meaning. A physical manifestation of the inherent quality of the meaning of life. But it soon becomes obvious that each person cannot give up what is most meaningful. Could you give up to a heap what is most meaningful to you? They can't. So they begin to decide for one another what the others must give up. The pile is started with a lifetime collection of Dungeons and Dragons books, a fishing rod, a pair of green sandals, a pet hamster. But then, as each demand becomes more extreme, things start taking a very morbid twist. And the kids become ever more desperate to get Pierre Anton down. Yeah, that kid's a real nerd, huh? So the last thing that they put on the pile of meaning... Well, I guess not the last... Well, let's just review the last couple chapters. How about it? They made Elise, one of the kids... These are children from the age of 13 to 15. One of the kids, Elise, had to put her little baby brother on the pile. And he died 6 months ago. He is 2 years old. He had a terminal illness, and one of the kids was like, Elise has to put her baby brother on the pile. So, they dug up the kid, vandalized the graveyard a little bit, and put his little tiny baby coffin on the pile. And the dog that lives at the graveyard, because it never left its master's grave, old Sorensen, after he died, his dog stayed at the church graveyard. But when the kids came and stole the body, the dog followed them to the sawmill. And now they have to walk a dog every night, secretly, to keep the adults from finding out. And then Elise did something. What did Elise make somebody give up? She took a while. She was like, I'm gonna think about it. Oh yeah, Elise did want Ursula Marie's hair. Ursula Marie is our narrator Agnes's best friend. Ursula Marie is the cool girl. She has blue hair in 6 braids. And Agnes would totally dye her hair blue if her mom would let her. So, no, Oscar Little, the hamster, is still alive. We're just adding more animals to the pile. Yeah, she had awesome blue hair, and it was in braids, and Elise made her cut it off, and it was like one of her, it's like part of her personality. She's had blue hair forever. So, Hussein and Elise cut Ursula Marie's hair off and add her blue braids to the pile. And then Ursula Marie sat for a long time looking at her braids. There were no longer tears on her cheeks. Instead, her eyes were glowing with rage. She turned calmly to Hussein, and in a gentle voice, her teeth only moderately clenched, said, "Your prayer mat." That's where we are. I believe this is 12. I really wish books would stop using Roman numerals because it makes me look really stupid every time they do. This isn't Rome, people. Ten plus 1 plus 1. Thank you. That's how I figured it out. Anyways. It's MMXXI. That's a calculator, dude. Shut up. Right? Like, I'm sure they could read them easily back in the day, but that doesn't look like no number I ever saw. Somebody call IXII. Okay, chapter 12. Chapter XII. Sounds like a sorority. I need some chapstick. Hold on. Hussein kicked up a storm. Hussein kicked up a storm to the extent that we finally had to beat up on him. We being Otto and Huge Hans. The rest of us just watched. It took a while, but eventually Hussein just lay there with his face in the sawdust and Otto on his back. He wasn't saying anything anymore. When they let him get to his feet, he looked terrified, almost like he was shaking. But somehow, it wasn't Otto or Huge Hans he was scared of. Who it was, we didn't discover until Hussein had handed over his prayer mat in tears, and then hadn't come to school for a whole week. When finally he showed up again, he was black. Oh, God. And finally, when he showed up again, he was black and blue and yellow and green all over. His left arm was broken. He was not a good Muslim, his father had told him, and then beaten the life out of him. That wasn't the worst. The worst was that he wasn't a good Muslim. A bad Muslim. No Muslim. No one. Something in Hussein seemed to have been destroyed. He went round dragging his feet with his head bowed. And whereas before he'd always dished out his fair share of knocks and shoves, now he wouldn't even defend himself if someone went for him. I have to say it was a beautiful mat. The patterns were interwoven, red and blue and gray. And it was so fine and soft to the touch that Cinderella looked like she was going to abandon little Emil's coffin. But then Jan Johan laid the mat at the top of the heap of meaning, where Cinderella couldn't reach it. That helped Cinderella stay put. Cinderella is the dog. At first, Hussein wasn't saying what the next in line had to give up. He just shook his head despondently when we began to pressure him. Pierre Anton's hollering was getting to us, and Hussein would have to move on. It was already October, and we were far from being done. We wanted it over with. And there was still 5 of us to go. Eventually, when Hussein was unable to put it off any longer, he pointed to Huge Hans and said quietly, "The yellow bike." Hardly a big deal. Even if the bicycle was brand new and neon yellow, and a racer. And Huge Hans was beside himself, and waited 2 whole days before he came and leaned it up against the heap of meaning in the old sawmill. Still, a little was better than nothing. And at least now we were able to go on to the rest. Had we known that giving up his bike would make Huge Hans so furious that he would do something terrible, then some of us may have told Huge Hans, if we had known that giving up his bike would make Huge Hans so furious that he would do something terrible, then some of us may well have told Hussein to think of something else. But we didn't know. and we insisted on Huge Hans handing over his neon yellow bike, just like Hussein had said. Sophie was one of those who pressured the most. She shouldn't have done that.